Bruchim Habayim. Welcome everybody to the weekly shir in Chassidut in English. If you have your sefer, we're on page 25 and 24 in the English. We started a few weeks ago learning this amazing work of the Essence of Chasidus, Inyana Shel Torah Chassidut, based on the Sikh of the Rebbe that the Rebbe said on the 19th of Kislev, 1965. This shir is being dedicated in loving memory of my grandmother, Chaya Sarah Bat Yecheskel, dedicated by my dear brother Beryl. And it's especially meaningful because this Shabbat, this Shabbat is going to be my grandmother's second yahrzeit, and it's actually my birthday too, this Shabbos. So you're all invited to a special farbrengen, marking, first of all, her yahrzeit and also my birthday. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. It's going to be a very special Shabbos. And there's nothing like celebrating together with friends and family, as far as the birthday is concerned. Okay. In the last couple of shiurim, we learned about the number of important contributions that Chasidus makes to the world, and how Chasidus is so important because of the different contributions that it gives to the world. First of all, we talked about that in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, who introduced Chasidus, the world was in a state of faint.
A state of what?
Faint and spiritual unconsciousness. And through revealing Chasidus, this quote-unquote woke up the world from its unconsciousness. Number two, a Chassid is someone who learns Chasidus and moreover acts according to the ways of Chasidus, and that is Lifnim Mishurat Adin, beyond the letter of the law. Number three, we learned about the fact that the advantage of Chasidus is that one's natural energy becomes godly, can become godly. And finally, number four, that Chasidus innovated that even someone who does not have a high neshama, a high soul, and also did not work too much to elevate themselves, can still grasp godliness. Okay. For further information, see YouTube, Chabad of Rechavia, and you can look up the first two or three classes of the Essence of Chasidus. Now, as we move on to the next class, we're going to learn something fascinating, and that is, we're going to see it from a number of angles. Where you have something special, the question is, what makes it special? Is it because it has A, B, or C, or D, etc., or because it has something innerly unique, which that is really what captures the specialty? And because of that innerly powerful concept, then there are also other advantages, other special things. But there's one central, and that's what we're going to try to dig deep and to find, where do we have this idea in Chasidus? Let's start reading page 25 in the Hebrew. In a minute we'll read the English on page 24. Movanu Pashat Kedila Kaman, itself understood, as we're going to see soon, Asher Torah Chasidut Hinekuda Achat. The learning of Chasidus is one point, one central point, She'eina murkeves mipratim shonim, which is not made up of several details. Umekivon shekola ma'alish namru babir manal, because since all of the advantages that we lived in the earlier pages, ma'alish shonis, there are different advantages. Harei mukhrach, so it must be shema'alot elu einan magdirot וממצות את מהותה של תורת החסידות. We must say that these great advantages do not categorize or bring out the real essence of Chasidus. They are all points which are also very nice. But they are all outcomes of the central point which makes Chasidus what it is. We'll try to find that out soon. But at least we have to know the fact. The fact is that in order to understand what Chasidus is, we have to realize that there is something essential. Every object in the world has something essential which makes it what it is. Moreover, there are certain things in the world which are clearly essential and fundamental. So while, I'm going to repeat it because it's important, and soon we're going to bring some examples. But while every single object in the world has its color, its size, its shape, all, etc., there is one point which categorizes what it is. An umbrella. Right here we have an umbrella. So the different types of umbrellas, different colors, how does it open up? Today I saw an umbrella looks inside out, and the person presses a button and it flips nicely into it took like 2.5 seconds, but it was pretty cool. Everything has its own, but that doesn't, the way it opens up doesn't categorize what it is. What is the essence of an umbrella? It's something that it's portable, and it protects you from the rain. I guess technically speaking, you could have different types of whatever. It doesn't have to be with a stick even. But the point is, that's what an umbrella is. So too, everything else in the world has something essential. But is an umbrella a fundamental tool that we have in the world? I don't think so. It's nice, cute. It's nice. It's nice that it rains here in Eretz Yisrael. We feel that it's a tremendous bracha. But there are other things which are more central in our lives, if you will. So there are certain things which are called, the best word is to say it in Hebrew, because in Hebrew it's such a beautiful language, and it's such a sharp and explanatory, and I don't know if it's explanatory or it's the word is made up of a root word, and that really categorizes it the way it is the word etzem. Etzem means essence. Etzem also means bone. The bone of a person is the essence. You have that's the skeleton. Yeah, then you have the flesh, and you have the skin, and the blood, and the nail. All the stuff is all around it. The essence, apparently also bone marrow, is something which is one of the most essential parts of the person. And that can be, let's talk about the positive, it could be a great refuah. It can be a great healing and health for the person, making sure that's the way it's supposed to be. So the etzem is the key word for today's class. And if we can try to understand this idea, which is a very, very, very fundamental, very fine, refined concept, then hopefully we'll be able to understand this concept as well. Yes?
So when we receive a message from the Ein Sof into Chachma, is that an individualized message for each person?
Are you asking if everybody takes it in a different way?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I'm not sure. We're going to be touching on the idea of the Sfirot in the continuation of the class. Okay? So let's start with this idea of the Etzem. Ayin Tzadik Mem Sofit. Etzem, the essence. What does it mean? Let's talk about this for a moment, or a few. About what it means to be the essence of something. Or something fundamental. Something really in the core of whatever scenario you're talking about. The best example for this, and we're going to use a few examples, is Hashem. Why is Hashem the best example for this? Because Hashem is who He is because He is. Nothing made it. Nothing made Him. He always was. He is. He always will be. That's called etzem. The essence of something is true because it's true. Nothing else made it true. It is because it is. Period. End of conversation. It's very hard for a human being to understand this. That's why I made the introduction that we're learning something very, very, very refined concept, something which is remote from a regular human being. But we can still understand it. And if we cannot understand it, we can at least accept it. Hashem is the best example of etzem. The essence of something doesn't need to have any proof. It doesn't need to have any strengthening. He is as strong as possible. Nothing else makes it strong. That's why, even after 120 or 180, when the body dissolves, there is one, the top of the spine, out of all the bones, that is called the luz bone, Lamed Vav Zayin, L-U-Z, which can never, ever be destroyed. Why? So we have an example of something which is the essence. Something which is and can never be destroyed. And when Mashiach comes, and there will be the revival of the dead, then the body will be reformed, recreated, if you will, from that luz bone. Another example is Moshe. Moshe emet, v'torato emet. Moshe is true and his Torah is true. Why is it true? Because Moshe is one with the Torah. The Torah always was, the Torah is, and the Torah will forever be. Every Jew is connected to the Torah. But if there's one individual who is most connected to the Torah, it's Moshe Rabbeinu. That's why there's something fascinating that we learn in this week's Parsha, that Am Yisrael brought the items of the Mishkan to Moshe, the contributions, and he built the Mishkan from that. And at the end of the second Parsha, which is Pekudei, it says that Moshe helped that. He basically put his hand there and Hashem miraculously put it up. We have the Medrash says something interesting, which is what I'm trying to get at. Whatever Moshe made, Maaseh Yedei Moshe, are nitzchim. The Mishkan that was around almost 3,400 years ago, are still around today. We may not know where they are, but that doesn't make a difference. Whatever Moshe made is eternal, even though it's physical. Why? Because Moshe was so holy, was so special, that even in this materialistic world, which everything materialistic is not eternal, only Hashem, only Kedusha, only the Torah is eternal. But Moshe, anything that he made, are nitzchim. Why? Because it is. Because it is. End of conversation. Not because there was a special craftsman who made it, but because the golden hands of Moshe touched it, created it, formed it. I'm trying to convey from different angles the idea of what etzem means. Etzem is the essence. So you look at a person. You ask the person, who are you? One person is going to say their name. Another person is going to say where they come from. Another person is going to say what their profession is. Every person is going to view themselves, who are you? One person is going to say, my neshama. Oh boy, wow, that's a real deep insight. Who are you? Who am I? It's my neshama. That's who I am. What, a body? What, a little bit of brains? The neshama. That's the real you. Where am I going? I'm trying to focus on the etzem, on the essence. So one person will say that it's their body. Okay, the body is that who the person is. But you have to go deeper and deeper and deeper and zoom in until you figure out what is the essence, and that is the essence. Why is it called etzem? Because it is the essence, not because it's bone and it's hard and it's hard to be broken, chas v'shalom. Rather because no one made it. In Hebrew, the best way to explain it is in Hebrew it says, Mechuyav HaMetziut. He has to be the only one who is Mechuyav HaMetziut, whose existence is, it has to be, is only Hashem. Nothing else in the world has to be. Everything else in the world is, technically speaking, because someone else made it or something like that. Not chas v'shalom by mistake. It's all part of a plan, but it's still nothing in the world has to be. Where do we have mechuyav hametziut? Where do we have a metziut, a being, an entity, which has to be because not because anyone made it, but just because that's how it is. I'll give you an example. Another example. I'm trying to come from all angles. Just this week, at least one person that I recall, one person mentioned to me about in Chabad, you need to have a Rebbe. And he had a couple of suggestions of some great Chasidim who could be the Rebbe. And I'm trying to explain to him, and this is the point that I want to bring out, about what is a Rebbe. And the Rebbe himself said this in the months after the passing of the previous Rebbe. Some people say the Rebbe is a genius. Some people say the Rebbe needs to be someone who knows the whole Torah. Others say the Rebbe needs to be someone who is a great orator. Others say the Rebbe needs to have leadership qualities. The classical Jewish answer is D, all of the above. In this case, E, because we already said four things. E, all of the above. What does all the above mean? This is what the Rebbe explains, and this is fascinating. You have an etrog. This is what I'm saying now is my own explanation. So now I'll get back to what the Rebbe said. An etrog. So an etrog is similar to a lemon. But can you use a lemon for the four species, for the first of the four species on Sukkot? No. It has to be an etrog. If it's not an etrog, it can be the most beautiful lemon, orange, clementine, or tangerine. But it's not an etrog. I'm sorry. It's not. It has to be an etrog. So when it comes to a Rebbe, the question is, what is a Rebbe? The Rebbe is an individual who is such an amazing, fascinating personality that he is who he is because that's who he is. Because he has such a great personality, he has A, B, C, D, and all the other great things. Therefore, he knows the whole Torah, he's a great orator, he connects to people, tremendous Ahavat Yisrael, love of a fellow Jew. But all of that comes out of who he is, and it's very hard to explain that. Because people say, what do you mean? This guy is a great learner, this guy is a great leader, so make him the Rebbe. It doesn't work like that. Maybe in most other circles, without putting anyone down, it is the way it is. But in Chabad, the Rebbe is an unbelievable individual. It's like Moshe. Like the Zohar says that every generation has Moshe. And just like by Moshe when he was born, it says the moment that he was born, the house filled with light. Every generation has a Moshe like that. And that's the Rebbe. So if you don't have a lemon, can't substitute for the etrog. I'm sorry, with all due respect to the lemon, it cannot substitute the etrog on Sukkot. Okay, so I'm getting back to this point of the etzem. It's so hard to understand. It's so hard to explain, but I hope we can get even a little glimpse, a little insight into this idea of what it means to be the etzem, is like the core, the essence of what we're talking about. The question is it? It's not a question. It's not connected directly to all the other things which come out of it. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to zoom in and to try to figure out what is the essence of Chasidus. Now, because Chasidus is so fundamental in the world, in Torah, therefore, Chassidus also is connected with all the parts of the Torah and everything in the world. As we'll get to that later. But before we branch out to see how Chassidus impacts, or how it impacted, and it will impact the world, first understand, what is it? What is the essence of Chassidus? That's why this shir is so important, is crucial to understand the underlining common denominator which goes through this entire amazing discourse from the Rebbe. Okay, wow, that was loaded. Now we're the second to last, middle of the second to last line in the second, in page 25. Then we'll go back to the English. Mahuta shel Chasiduti. What is the essence of Chasidus? It is nekuda atzmit. Unbelievable words. An essential point. Hamufshetet me'inyanim pratiyim. It is totally removed, abstract from details. Remember I said before, a number of examples. The first example of the umbrella. The essence of the umbrella is totally deeper than the color, the size, the shape, how it's folded in, how it jumps out. All those are so minor when it comes to the essence. By the way, I should mention over here that there are some people that are more into the essence, just by nature, and some people are more into the details. I don't think it's better or worse, it's just different types of people. For example, in the case of the umbrella, some will say, I couldn't care less what size it is, what color it is, just make sure that it covers me, I don't get wet. Others will say, what do you mean? It doesn't match my tie, and whatever. How can I go with it? What does it do to the price of tea in China? Just as long as it covers you, it's fine. But everyone is entitled to their need. But pay attention, please, that the more we're connected to the essence, that sort of brings out, in a sense, the quality of the person. The person wants to connect to the essential part of any case, in this case umbrella, that the minor details may not make a difference. Some people won't even are extreme. They won't even go out if it doesn't fit exactly. All the details don't fit exactly. I should mention also a very interesting point. There are some people that specifically won't even have umbrellas. It's just interesting. Nothing to do with this. Why? You ever see a soldier going on a march with an umbrella? Going out there with getting all wet, but the wet is nothing. There he walks through the drops. Of course, the person doesn't have to get sick. Of course, I'm just trying to bring a point across. That a soldier, he's walking, and the water is not going to melt him, as they say, and kol yeh beseder. So let's get back to this subject. Page 27. Ela mitzad nekudata ha'atzmit. It's unbelievable. Only when it comes to the most essential point. Nimtzaot umistafot mimena ma'alat hanal. Once we will zoom in and connect to the essential point, then we'll be able to explain how all of the above, all the other details come from that quintessential point. But first you have to start with a point. That's the most important part. So the question is, what is that point of Chassidus? And that's going to be in the next paragraph. But let's turn back for a second to page 24. Chassidus as the extension of the Ein Sof. It is self-evident, for reasons which later will be explained, that Chassidus is one central point. It is a singular and indivisible core, which is not a composite, thank you, of various particular ideas. It has a bunch of ideas, but that's not what it is in its core. Now, since all of the distinctive qualities mentioned in the preceding definitions, in the previous section of the Maimer we learned earlier, we learned in the past few weeks, and also in numerous other explanations, are different, one must conclude that these qualities do not define and capture the essential nature of the teachings of Chassidus. The fundamental nature of Chassidus is a quintessential point, which is completely abstracted and removed from any particular ideas. However, it is by virtue of this quintessential point that all above-mentioned special qualities exist and are derived. This is fascinating. And if you think this previous paragraph was a bomb, wait till you see the next one. This is unbelievable. If there's one paragraph which is the whole Maimer, just read this paragraph and go home. No, I want you to stay. I want you to stay for the next till we finish this discourse and beyond. The quintessential point of Chassidus. Now we're learning the Hebrew paragraph on page 27. The essential point of Chassidus is Kimduber Leil Ba Maimer, as we said earlier in the Maimer. Shabi Yisodo, that the fundamental concept Hu Ma'amar is a discourse Shal Kvod Kedushat Admor Marashab Nishmas Eden Hamshachas Or Chodosh, to the drawing down of a new light. Mibchinat Pnimiyut HaKeter. It's unbelievable. Every word over here we could speak for hours. Don't worry, we're not. Unbelievable. A new light that was never here in the world before, which the Holy Baal Shem Tov revealed to us, which is from the inner part of the Keter, which soon we'll explain. Ulamali yoter, and even higher than that, Hamshachat b'chinat pnimiyut atik mamash. It's unbelievable. This is just unbelievable. There's no words. This is drawing down the inner level of Atik, literally. Bechinat Ein Sof, the level of Ein Sof, Shenimtza B'radla, B'reish Adla Yada. Wow. Just because it's such a bomb, we need the next paragraph to help us land, because otherwise we're just gonna Chas v'shalom, you know. Okay, page 29. This point itself, Machriach, makes us conclude Asher Kol HaMa'alot, that all of the advantages Shechasidus HaMevo'aros B'mkom Eshoyanim Hein Rak Histafos B'nekudat HaAtzmit. So, once you realize that the light of Chassidus is a new light from the highest levels of the Ein Sof, as we're going to see soon. Once again, getting back to Atzmos, Etzem, same word, same root word, Etzem, the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty Hashem, blessed be He. All of the other details come from this quintessential point. Since Chassidus is a drawing of the Ein Sof, the infinite essence of Hashem, so it's self-understood. Asher Ein Sof Atzmi. It's understood that Ein Sof is Etzem. Atzmi is from the same word as Etzem. The essence, Ein Sof. Like we said before, that Hashem wasn't created, Chas v'shalom. He always was, He is, and always will be. He doesn't need anything to make Him. The world is dependent on His non-stop Yihi Or, Yihi Rakia. There shall be light. There shall be heavens. There shall be the world. The earth should give vegetation. But Hashem doesn't need anything or anyone. To us, it doesn't make any sense. But that doesn't mean that it's not true. So of course, it's true. Hashem is the epitome of emet, of essence, of truth. Because He is. No other reason. So that's Ein Sof. Ein Sof means there's no limit. There's no end. There's no beginning. Ein Tchila, Ein Sof, no beginning, no end. That's Etzem. It doesn't have any category. It is pure. It is. That's it. It is. It is. 2 short words to the point. Last line and a half of this paragraph. Hare muvanu pashut. So it's self-understood. Asher ein sof hu atzmi. That ein sof is essential. V'kol sh'ara yanim and everything else. The highest levels, the sfirot, the world, which we're going to talk about soon. But everything else, with all due respect to the 10 sfirot and everything is all einam ela nimtzaim u'mesubavim mimenu. They're all ramifications from him, capital H. Excuse me. He is the etzem, and everything else comes from him. Obviously, when it comes to the material world, for sure. How much more so that it's not real stuff. It's all fake. It's all, in a sense, it is real, but it's not real, because today it's here and tomorrow it's gone. The only one who is really real, who is etzem, essence, mechuyav ha-metziut, he has to be, like the Rambam says right in the beginning. Sooner we're going to finish the Rambam, and then we're going to start it again. That he writes beautifully, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he is the only truth, and he is the most essential being, the only essential being in the entire from everything. He is who he is, because he is. And so everything else is only an outcome, ramification from him. Yes, what's your question, please?
What is the meaning of Ein Sof in this context?
So we're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to that because we're going to go back to the page 26 in the English. Thank you for your question. Page 26. This quintessential point of Chasidus is discussed earlier in the Maimer, which is based on the Maimer of the Rebbe Rashab, Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber of Lubavitch, the 5th Chabad Rebbe, is the, how do you say that, effusion?
Yes.
Thank you. Effusion of a new light from the innermost level of Keter, and yet higher, an effusion from the innermost level of Atik itself, which is the level of Ein Sof, the infinite that is found in Radla, which is an abbreviation for the 3 words in Aramaic, Resha Delo Ityada, the head or beginning that is not known. Okay, so let's try to share these most deep concepts in a nutshell as much as possible, with Hashem's help. At the end, we'll try to explain how it's a new light. But let's start with we have 4 worlds, 4 spiritual worlds. The first one is called Atzilut. The second is called Bria. The third is called Yetzira. And the fourth is called Asiya. Atzilut means, there are 2 explanations. Basically it means it's pretty much all spiritual. There's the most, to the extent that sometimes in Chassidus we don't even want to call it a world, because the quote-unquote world gives it more of a materialistic connotation. Then you have Bria, which means creation. Yetzira is a 3rd world, which means formation. And Asiya means action. It's still spiritual action. They're all levels in the creation and formation of our materialistic world. Then we have Asiya Gashmi. It's also called Asiya, but it's a physical world. That's where we are right now. Now, in each one of the 4 worlds, we have the 10 sfirot. The 10 sfirot are the 3 levels of intellect: Chabad, Chachma, Bina, Dat, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, and the 7 levels of emotion. Soon is going to be Pesach. Then we'll start counting the Yomer, and then we'll talk more about the whole idea of the emotions. But I'm just trying to give you the nutshell of the build-up of the spiritual realm. So in summary of what we just said, there are 4 worlds. Each world has 10 sfirot. When we talk typically about the 10 sfirot, we're referring to them in the highest world of Atzilut. Because then they're all spiritual. And that's what we mean. Wow, 10 sfirot, elevated, spiritual, hopefully it elevates us too. Each one of these sfirot are basically a luminary, which hopefully we connect to. And through the luminaries, Hashem blesses us, and Hashem gives us and the world all kinds of great inspiration and shefa. Okay. Now, then you have, let's take the highest world, Atzilut, and you have the 10 sfirot, right? Then you have the Keter. So just like you have the build-up of the 10 sfirot are similar to a human being, or the human being is similar to Hashem. Hashem is the ultimate. We're just similar, B'tzalmeinu k'dmutenu, in our form, like our image. And so you have the 7 levels of emotion and the practical part. That's like from the neck down. And then you have the head, which is the Chabad, the Chachma bin Adat, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Then you have the Keter. Keter is the crown on top of the head. So so now when we're talking about in the spiritual realm of Atzilut, wow, so you have as high as the Sfirot, those spiritual luminaries, as high as they are, the Keter tops it all off. What's the highest part of a king? It's the crown. The crown, that's where the crown jewel is. And actually, speaking with the crown jewel, you can take the crown itself. I'm going to get to that, to the analogy in a second. Take the crown itself. You have within the crown itself the external part of the crown. And then you have the crown jewel, which is probably supposed to be, the most precious part of the entire kingdom. The king himself, the greatest person in the kingdom, wears this with him at all times. Now, of course, he has treasures and all that stuff, but apparently, the crown jewel is the most expensive, or at least it's supposed to be, the most meaningful, precious object in the entire kingdom. So in Hashem's Keter represents Ein Sof. So every time you're on a lower level and you look above to a higher spiritual level, that higher spiritual level, as far as you're concerned on where you are, the higher one is more Ein Sof. But when you climb up there and you're always looking for something deeper, there's always a Kadosh Baruch Hu. To get to the Etzem is impossible for us, but we try. We try to connect to Hashem's Atzmut. Atzmuto u'mauto shel Ein Sof Baruch Hu. The essence and the being, the core being of Hashem. So when you're in the world of Atzilut, you look at the Keter, wow, Hashem's crown. That's Ein Sof. Each one of the 10 Sfirot have some kind of description, if you will, some kind of color, some kind of identity. But the Etzem, the essence, is pure, without any identity. And that's the Keter. Okay? Now when you're elevated to the level of Keter, you want to zoom in and connect deeper to the Ein Sof, deeper to the Atzmut of Hashem. What's that? It's called Atik. Atik literally means ancient, authentic. I believe more like ancient, but in a meaningful way, like the real thing. And then of course you have Pnimiyut Atik. So Atik is considered in Chasidus the innermost part of the Keter, of the crown of Hashem. And then you have the Pnimiyut of Atik, which he doesn't even talk about over here. Actually, he does. Hamshachat. Here we go. So let's see the words again. We'll do the English. This new light comes from Keter, right? That's the Ein Sof. And yet higher, an effusion from the innermost level of Atik itself. So it's not just coming from Atik, but Pnimiyut Atik. It's unbelievable. Pnimiyut Atik, the innermost part of Atik. That's the innermost level of Etzem, the essence of Hashem. Which, for lack of another terminology, it is represented by Radla. Reisha de lo et yada, the beginning which is not known. There's no way that we can identify it. So we call it the beginning which is not known, because it's not known. There's no way that we can ever even hint to it. When you say a name of Hashem, that's one of the Sfirot. It's not like we have any glimpse into what a name of Hashem means, but at least there's a way to sort of refer to him, and usually we can't even say the right words because it's Hashem's name, it's too holy. But then you have the Keter, which is higher, and then Atik, and then the Pnimiut Atik, and then which is basically an effusion from Ein Sof of Radla, which is the essence of Hashem. In other words, as we'll see later on in the upcoming classes, Bezrat Hashem, how Chasidus plays such a major role in so many areas, beginning with Torah, in Pshat, simple meaning, Remez, alluding to other hints, Drush, going even deeper, and Sod, secret, which is Kabbalah. In all, the contribution that Chassidus has to all of the above is because it's so etzem, it's so essential, therefore it sheds tremendous light on all of the above. We're going to see that later. But at least now, hopefully we can at least accept, hopefully, this concept that Chassidus, the way that Chassidus is able to have such a strong impact on such a wide variety in Torah and in the world. We see today clearly, everyone across the board, everyone is talking words of Chassidus. They don't even realize it. Why is that? Because Chassidus is an effusion of a new light from the Keter, Pnimiut Keter, the innermost part of the Keter, even a higher Atik and Pnimiut Atik, the innermost part of Atik, and which is really the Ein Sof, which comes from the highest level, which we can't even explain. Reisha de lo et yada, it's not even known. It's not that we can explain it. It's a beginning, we don't even know it. Forget about explaining it. I just want to please mention one more thing, which is very, very important over here. And that is this idea that we're saying that Chassidus is basically a new light. It's not just a nice choice of words that it's a new light. The whole idea of light, we have to remember that light in Chassidus is a very, very good example. It's the closest that we can get. There's no way to explain in words, even in Lashon HaKodesh, how great Hashem is and how the world is all an emanation from Him. It's all part of Him. The closest way to explain it is to call it light. Sometimes we call it the light of an example is the light of the sun, because that's just something that we can relate to a little more. But let's just take one really important point of what or is light, and then we'll tie it into this quote-unquote new light. Or light has a very special quality, and that is that it's impossible to separate the light from the ma'or. Ma'or is the luminary, the source of the light. True that it comes out, if it would stay only, let's say, by the sun, in the sun globe, then true, we would never be able to benefit from it. So Hashem made it, interestingly enough, that it comes out of the sun globe. It doesn't just stay in. But it's inseparable. You can't say, let's say you go into the sun globe. I don't recommend it. But let's say you go into the sun globe. Can you differentiate between the sun globe itself and the ray of the light, which is inside of it, which in a nanosecond is going to go out and shine to the world? Obviously not. Not only when the light is inside the sun globe is it inseparable, But even when the light comes out of the sun globe, it's always unified with its source. It's very hard to explain, but at the end of the day, the most spiritual object that we can relate to, that we can show an example of in this materialistic world, is fire, which basically gives off light. It's not the only it's not the only thing that fire gives off, but it's one of those things which is obviously fire is a little bit physical. Osem alachav luchot mishartav, today's Tehillim from chapter 104, mishartav esh lohet. So fire does have some kind of touch, at least with the wind. But it's spiritual. It's all spiritual. So we want to bring an example of something that we can, of spirituality that sort of we can relate to. It's fire and light, which is connected. So to summarize this idea of the Or Chadash, on one hand, the Or Chadash comes from the Ma'or, the luminary. That's the Atzmut, the Etzem, the essence of Hashem. Nothing higher than that. Nothing deeper than that. On the other hand, this Or Chadash, this Or, this light, is always unified with its source. Even the way it comes down, quote unquote, into this materialistic world, it always remains unified with its source. That's such a beautiful concept, which is connected to Or, connected to light. So this hopefully explains even more that this quintessential point that Chassidus has is that the Baal Shem Tov, the holy Baal Shem Tov, was able to draw down this new light, the Or Chadash. That's what Chassidus is. So when I say, what's Chassidus? The Baal Shem Tov revealed a new light to the world, which was never revealed before. This light is from the pnimiyut of the pnimiyut of the pnimiyut, the innermost part of the innermost part, the keter, the pnimiyut, the innermost part of keter, and the innermost part of atik, which is Hashem Himself. All the sefirot are wonderful, with all due respect to them, but they're all emanations, very, very high emanate, but nonetheless emanations from Hashem's essence. But the Chasidus is Bechinat, the level of Ein Sof. It says right here, we just learned it. It's clear. It doesn't get clearer. Now let's just finish off the last paragraph. I'll take questions, Bezrat Hashem. Page 28. Now that we understand that Chassidus has something essential, not just essential, but the most essential thing in the entire world, which is the Etzem, Atzmut of Hashem, it follows then from this very idea which was elaborated in the Maimer, that all the distinctive qualities of Chassidus, which are explained in various places, are but the ramifications of the quintessential point. They're wonderful, but they're details without focusing on the essence. So first you have to try at least, to capture the essence. Then we could talk about the details, and then everything will fit in like a puzzle. For since Chassidus is the extension of the state of Ein Sof, it is self-understood that Ein Sof is the essence of Chassidus. This is unbelievable words. And all other particular aspects are only ramifications and derivatives of it. Wow. So basically, we're learning now the most critical essay in connection to Chassidus. Because this is going to capture everything. It's almost as if every year we should start with this, and then we'll learn other stuff. Tanya. But obviously, this is amazing once in a while to delve into it. The Tanya is the Torah Shebechtav, we consider it the most important work of the Tanya, of Chasidus. That's what Tanya is. And so Baruch Hashem, we have the great zchut. I think this, I just said it, there was a celebration of someone's 80th birthday last 2 weeks ago. A woman, she doesn't live here anymore, she lives outside of Jerusalem. But she was from the first people that came to the shir. When I spoke at the event, I said that this is the longest shir that we've had over here, every Tuesday night, Baruch Hashem. I said this in English, before we were even in the windmill. We were in Yad Tamar. We used to have our shirim over there. Anyways, this is a huge zchut, and we could just review this as often as possible. Take it home, review it, learn it again. Yes, Chanoch, what's your question?
So this came through the Baal Shem Tov.
Correct. He was the first one that introduced Chasidus, per se.
So did this come as was it a search for something that was not complete in Kabbalah, or was it a miracle?
I would call it more a miracle. Basically, because it's something which is etzem, it's the essence, and that was the right time that Hashem wanted these teachings, these amazing teachings of Chasidus, to be revealed to the world. So he brought the Baal Shem Tov, which had such a great neshama, that he was able to reveal the teachings of Chasidus to the world. The teachings of Chasidus are not just, okay, we're looking for some solution, and so therefore, let's find something. Okay, we found it. That's something which is not essential. When it comes to something which is essence, it is, because it is, because it is. End of conversation. Nothing causes it to happen. Nothing external brings forth this concept. It is there because it is. It's there in the right time. It became revealed. It's almost as if no effort had to be made.
So we could say we just celebrated Purim, which was a re-giving of the Torah, but this sounds like it's another re-giving of the Torah.
That's very fascinating. It's a fascinating statement that you just made. That we just celebrated Purim. Purim, in a sense, was a recommitment to the Torah. In a great sense, this is also a recommitment. It's a great point. Basically, the Torah was given once and will never be given again. Mm-hmm. The only thing is that as time goes along, there are more in quantity and deeper in quality ideas which become revealed. Which means that it's like you have an onion and you peel off the outer layer, then another layer, and it keeps on going. They have this thing where the guy, the clown, takes out all the things. It keeps on. It doesn't stop. You think, well, where is he taking it out from the paper? But you have this concept where peel more. Okay, so where's the essence? So the essence, if you look at the outer layer, and you peeled off the outer layer, before you peeled it off, as far as you're concerned, what's underneath, that's the essence. Mm-hmm. But then you peel another layer off. Now the essence is still there, you just didn't see it. So if you have patience, you do another layer. Hey, 1 second, there's more. So maybe that's the essence. No, there's more, until you get to that, I don't know, whatever that quintessential point of the onion. That's just an example of the Torah where we get Torah Shebechtav, the written Torah, the oral Torah, on revealing more insights. The Zohar, the teachings of the Holy Arizal. Sof, finally, and for the last couple hundred years, have the greatest zechut, the greatest merit of all generations, to be, I think the word is privy to this unbelievable teaching, thank you, of Chasidus. Mm-hmm. The main reason, why us? Why not the great Tanaim, authors of the Mishnah, authors of the Talmud, prophets, much incomparable to us? Why us? The answer is that as we're getting much, much closer to Mashiach. So this is the preparation.
But there was tremendous resistance to this.
Unfortunately, that's what happens when you have things.
Apart.
It's very sad that there was. Today there's considerably less, but nonetheless, time heals, as they say, and in Hebrew they say, "Mashalo yasa sechel yasa azman." What logic cannot accomplish, time can accomplish, and people see that there was nothing to worry about from the beginning. The Baal Shem Tov worked very hard. The Maggid and the Alter Rebbe worked very hard, and throughout the generations, all the Rebbes, all the Chassidim, to show the beauty of Chassidus. They were worried that the others, the opponents, were worried that it was something new. It's new, but it's a new light. It's a new inner light. It's not new in the sense something that wasn't here before. Matan Torah, the giving of Torah, will never happen again. It happened once, and that's it. It's just that as time goes along, there are new insights, new dimensions which become revealed. And the point of this discourse this essay is, that it's not just another new thing in the scope of history. This is it. This is the most. The essence of Chasidus is the essence of everything. This is the essence of everything. So what a great zechut that we have, that we're able to learn this. We're able to teach this. And today with social media, we can teach people you never believe. Each and every one of us has the power and the ability and the obligation to share the beautiful concepts that we have with many other people. Bezrat Hashem, next week we'll continue. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, please come on Shabbos, as every Shabbos, of course. Especially this Shabbos. Thank you so much. B'vakasha.
This is a great...
So the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Tanya, Rabbi Schneerson, was a student of the Maggid, together with a number of other tzaddikim, including the Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk, the great tzaddik whose yahrzeit was today, the 21st of Adar. And one time there was a page of Chasidus that was floating around, the wind was blowing it around in the courtyard of the Maggid of Mezrich. One of the great tzaddikim, Rabbi Pinchas of Koritz, he saw that and he had a kapeda. I'm not sure exactly how to translate the word kapeda, but he was very, very upset. How could this be? A page of Chasidus? Now we have an insight of what Chasidus is flying around in the courtyard of the Maggid, and apparently being so upset, the Maggid could have passed away because of that kapeda, because of that being so strict, being so... It's not good to have a kapeda on someone, or a kapeda on a concept. It was basically, maybe it wasn't against the Maggid, but it was a direct outcome of the Maggid who was responsible for the teachings of Chasidus in Mezrich. And so the Alter Rebbe basically saved the Maggid's life. The Alter Rebbe said, don't worry, Hakol Beseder. He told his friend Rabbi Pinchas, don't get so upset, don't get so makpid, don't be so particular, don't be so strict. Why? He said it's a good. We don't throw pages around, but if it's already there, it's a good sign. Why? Why is it a good sign? So he brought an example of a king that has one son, and the son was very, very ill. Unfortunately, he was the heir of the throne, and the worst thing in the kingdom that. He was almost passed away. They tried everything, all doctors, nothing worked. One simple guy came along and said, I have an idea. There is, in the crown jewel, there is a special, I'm not sure if it's called a special substance. Ingredient, thank you. Which, if you mash, you crumble the crown jewel, and you mix it with a little water, and you put a little drop into the mouth of the prince, it may save his life. And the king right away goes ahead and does that. Now, the Rebbe explains a fascinating thing. We're crumbling up, we're mashing it. Is that what it's called? Breaking up the crown jewel, as we said earlier, the most precious item in the entire kingdom, worth more money than anyone can count. to save the life of the kid, and we're not sure that it's going to work? Maybe. We're not 100% sure. We're going to try to make the right mix. We're not even sure if one drop is going to go down his throat because he's so ill. But the king agrees to do that. Why? Because maybe it will save the kid's life, the prince's life. So this is the mashal, the metaphor that the Alter Rebbe used. Hashem is willing to spread Chasidus. When your well springs will be spread outside to the furthest places. One of these terminologies being outside is, unfortunately, sometimes it's on the ground. No one wants it to be. We pick it up right away when we see it. But if it's there, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a sign that it's being spread out. We're making an abundance of Chassidus. Maybe one more person will see a nice word, will be inspired. Well, even from the holy words of the Tanya, to have it in one's hand is already a great bracha. And so it's worth it that maybe it will save the generation, it will save Am Yisrael. Am Yisrael is spiritually ill, and Chassidus, as we're going to see more in the upcoming classes, is the perfect remedy for our generation. Yesher koach. Thank you, Tzvi.
Der Nimshel von dem Sohn ist Am Yisrael.
Nachon.
Was ist gewesen, was ist
Nachon. That's what we said, that the metaphor is Am Yisrael, that Am Yisrael is unfortunately spiritually ill, and Chassidus is what brings the remedy.
It's a new vaccine.
That's right. This is one vaccine that everybody can agree on. Yesher koach, thank you. This class has been dedicated generously by my brother Rabbi Goldberg in memory of our late grandmother Chaya Sarah Bat Yecheskel.